Hey you guys, I'm Danny the Teach. This is Beauty Manifested. This is a channel for story time, so it'll make sense if you keep along with the journey and then you can kind of understand where I'm coming from. If you just hop on for this one video, you may not really understand my perspective, and that's fine. I'm so happy to have you here. However, my only request is that if you're just hopping on for this one video, you don't leave any mean comments, because if you don't really understand my perspective and you've only seen this one video, it may just not make sense. So I was thinking about things that I want to keep in mind when I'm consuming content from other people. And it's very much where they are in their life, because I know that my perspective changes a lot depending on where I am in my life. And I think that's perfectly natural and human. I have to breathe. Yeah. So for example, I made a video yesterday about having a valuable skill set to fall back on, and that's my reason for pursuing cybersecurity. And I do remember before I started my last business, I've had multiple businesses in my life so far, but before I started my last business, which was the biggest and most successful, I was leaving one career. Well, it wasn't a career. I had been a dance instructor, and I was in college. And actually at that time, I was wanting to pursue a career in that. I was doing go-go dancing events. I was performing as a backup dancer. I was doing dancing engagements. I was a fitness instructor. I was doing nutrition coaching and meal prepping services. And so I was thinking that I was going to move into the health and wellness industry. But then one thing led to another, and I ended up in insurance sales, which is kind of similar, but still a totally different industry. And the reason I got into the insurance is because I had quit my job as a fitness instructor, and I was kind of transitioning, and then that put me into a state of mind where I really, really wanted some stability and certainty in my life. And I've noticed that is kind of a theme for me. I didn't even know that was so important to me, but it brings me a lot of peace to have routines. It brings me a lot of peace to have predictability in my life and my relationships and everything. Even the men who I really like dating the most and who get the furthest with me are the ones, I'll give a specific example. I dated this guy, and he would usually make plans for us every weekend. And he would hit me up about it every Wednesday. Like clockwork, I knew exactly what was going to happen. On Wednesday, he would check in with me to see what was going on for the weekend. He would tell me that he had an idea for us to do something for the weekend. He would see if I liked it. He would send me the menu for the restaurant he was thinking. And then he would keep communicating every day up until the date. And then we would do that. And then we would just repeat. He was very predictable. He was very regimented. And that brought me so much security and safety. I really like that. I also care for my grandmother. And when I tell you, I've been working on this, because I do her nighttime routine the exact same every single time. From the order that I bag up the garbage, I take off my gloves, I put the garbage can in this specific corner, I open the door, I put the garbage bag outside the door, I close the door, I come back in, I put on her socks. I do it the exact same way every single time. And so sometimes, because I'm not the only party in the interaction, my grandmother is another party, sometimes she'll randomly switch it up and do something a little, to me it's weird, but to her it's not weird. She'll just do something that's out of the routine. She'll, I don't know, take off her pants before she stood up, and it'll throw me off. And honestly, it kind of gets on my nerves, I'm not gonna lie. But I'm working on my patience and my trying to be more responsive and things like that. But anyways, I've figured out about myself that I really value predictability in my life and in my relationships. And so the way that I communicate when I'm in a stage of my life where there is a lot of predictability versus when I'm in a stage of my life where there's no predictability is very different. And the things that I want and the things that I value are going to be different. When I'm in that unstable place in my life, everything that I want and do and say is going to be focused on trying to bring more stability and predictability into my life. So for example, I had just made a video the other day talking about cybersecurity, and I was kind of hating on the e-commerce girlies, because I was like, yeah, that's cool, I love that for them, but at the same time, I would want to go into an industry that's like a little bit more necessity based. And of course, business, like, that's why I was being really kind of closed-minded, because I was feeling like cybersecurity and defense security is a super duper necessity. And if you have that skill set, you're basically recession proofing yourself, because you're always going to have a job and a skill set that's valuable. Versus if you do drop shipping online, like, you might get tired of doing it and not want to do it anymore. You might, like, the trends change, like all kinds of stuff. But obviously someone who's really good at e-commerce can just pick up a new product, and there's always going to be a product that's being sold. So I was being ignorant. But I realized I was talking like that because I'm in a point where I'm career transitioning, and there's not a lot of stability and predictability in my life. I mean, it kind of is, because now I'm in school full time, and I know that I'm this way. So I've added some predictability into my life intentionally, and I'm pursuing cybersecurity, which is a predictable path, all that stuff. But still, like, I'm not in something where I just do the same thing every single day. And so of course I would advise someone to not get into an e-commerce drop shipping business, because that doesn't sound stable, predictable, or secure to me. And so I'm like, I would never want to do that. I don't think anyone should do that. It's not safe. Do something safe. But if you had asked me when I had my insurance agency and things were pretty predictable and consistent, like, I knew what my role was, I knew what I was responsible for, I knew what goals I needed to meet, like, I pretty much knew what was going on. I made a video back then, and I was like, I would never ever do anything for under $50 an hour ever in my life. I would never do this, I would never do that, because I was so much more willing to take risk at that time, because I had a stable source of income and I had a stable career that I knew what was going on. And so if someone wanted to play it safe, I would have been like, I would never do that. You got to risk it to get the biscuit. You got to do this. You got to do that, because I had stability. And so that kind of draws me into the whole thing of when you're taking advice from successful people online, I think that's good. And you should try to embody some of their mindset, because ultimately that is where you're trying to get. But at the same time, like, they cannot really empathize with where you're at, because when you have a very stable source of income, or you have something to fall back on, like a nice investments account, you can take bigger risks. You can take bigger risks. You know you're going to eat. And they're like, no, I risked it all. Because not really, because if the business takes out a $500,000 business loan, you can file bankruptcy and then still find ways to protect some of your personal assets. So the risk is very different, versus you're asking someone to invest their personal income and go all in, and they're putting their whole family, everything at risk, and they've never done it before. And so there's way more risk that they will fail, because a lot of people don't succeed the first time, and that is the reality of it. And I feel like I'm saying so much to say so little. The point is, just be very cautious when you're consuming content. Really, I need to do better at this. I go through phases, but I want to consume less content. There's just so many voices in my head already. My teachers, my friends, my family. And then you add in all the social media voices, and it just becomes confusing. My advice, and of course I'm a voice too, but honestly, I would tell you, just listen to a lot less voices. I do, on my channel at least, try to not really give advice, and I try to be less biased, but we're humans and we are biased. The best thing you can do is read your Bible, meditate, and talk to God, because ultimately we're all here for our own unique reasons, and nobody can really tell you how to live your life. The devil uses deception. The devil uses fear. And when you listen to someone else's fears, it's easy for you to take that on if you already had the seed of fear in it. Now, if you listen to someone else say it, that is just watering that seed and helping it to grow. Same thing with deception. You're already deceiving yourself. It's already difficult to like follow the word, not difficult to follow the word of God, but like sometimes when there's a calling on your life and you know there's a calling, you still don't do it for whatever reason. So that's what I'm saying is hard. And so adding in a bunch of opinions from the internet just doesn't necessarily make it easier. I try to justify it by saying that I learn things from the internet and it gives me perspective. But honestly, I feel like it just makes me more worldly, and it allows me to like form opinions and reactions based on what the collective is talking about. And so when I tap into social media, I kind of feel like I tap into the culture. When I wasn't on TikTok, and I wasn't on TikTok for a long time, I felt like I was like aging faster because I didn't really know the trends. I didn't know the popular memes. Like I felt like I couldn't relate to other people my age as much because I didn't know what was going on and I wasn't consuming the same media. But now I'm kind of thinking, I'm like, well, is that even important? Because if I'm on my own individual journey with God, like, why do I need to be hip and with the times? And I haven't made an opinion about that yet, but it's just been on my mind because it can be difficult processing all of this information online. Let me know if you guys have any tips. Honestly, I'm definitely open to comments. It's really interesting. And I also am studying communications at school right now. And so we do talk a lot about like emotional intelligence and then listening and then thinking about it a little bit deeper, and also thinking a little bit deeper before you communicate. And so like, what is the most efficient way to communicate, to hear, and to be heard? And so that's something I've been thinking about a lot lately, and I may have more conversations on this. This is really a channel for storytelling. All I can do is share my personal experience. I'm not trying to give anyone advice because ultimately I'm still figuring it out for myself, and what works for me may not work for you, and vice versa. I'm just sharing my story. I don't know if this is valuable for anyone else, but it's valuable for me to be able to work this out, talk it out, post it, be able to look back at it later. So that's why I do it. But I would encourage anyone who made it this far in the video to just like really think deeply about the content that you're consuming. And if you are going to consume content, try to not like mass consume it, because that can just be really overwhelming. And so an example of that would be consuming more YouTube and less TikTok. YouTube is going to bring out a deeper listening from you, and you can listen to YouTube in the background a lot more, because you'll listen to a long video and not have to click the screen at all. TikTok requires you to be engaged because you have to keep scrolling or it'll play the video over and over again. So that's one thing about TikTok. And then also the videos tend to be shorter. And like, I don't know why, because I can listen to an hour-long video on YouTube, no problem. I've listened to 2-hour lives, 3-hour lives, like it's no issue. But on TikTok, for whatever reason, like I struggle to even get through a 5-minute video a lot of times. So I don't know if it's because the quality of the content is not as good on TikTok, or I don't know what it is. But if you're going to consume something, my personal recommendation would be more YouTube, less TikTok. I just feel that TikTok goes a little bit more deeper. And also I was thinking about this too, because I'm doing a TikTok series right now because I'm studying for a cybersecurity cert and I wanted people to follow along. And I just felt like it'd be more appropriate for my TikTok than on my YouTube. But on YouTube, we value future interaction more. And so I'm talking to you right now, hoping and assuming that you've heard something I've said in the past, and then hoping and assuming that you'll stay on and hear something that I'd say in the future. Like, I don't feel like I have to get everything out to you right now, because this is a story that I'm telling, and so I'm expecting there to be future interaction. On TikTok, they show your videos to completely random people all of the time, and I know, like, the people I follow, I don't see all of their videos. Like, I don't, even if I wanted to, like, it's hard for me to see all their videos unless I personally go to their channel and then catch up on the videos. And so when I make a video, I have to do the same intro every single time, and I have to like pretend that I'm making this video for someone who's meeting me for the first time, even if I've been doing this same series for 30 days. Does that make sense? Like, there's less of a community, at least where I am. I know that some people have more followers on TikTok, but I'm pretty sure it's set up like that. Like, you have to make every video like someone who doesn't know who you are is watching it. Pretty much. Okay, that's all I have to say on that, but be careful out here in this digital world. We do have to protect ourselves. That's why I love learning cybersecurity. It's actually very interesting, and it's so important. It feels really good. I'm loving it so far. I will talk to you guys soon. Be blessed. Peace.